Excellency Joe Lorenzo, President of the Republic of Angola and Chair of the African Union, Your Excellency John Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency Mohamed Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellency Ambassador Yusuf Madoha, Ambassador of the Union of Commerce, and Dean of the African Union Diplomatic Corps in Addis Ababa, Excellency Ambassador Martin Kimani, Chairperson of the UN Permanent Forum on Peoples of African Descent, Dr. Rita Basung, Head of the UNESCO, Liaison Office to the African Union and the ECA. It is my honor to convey the warm greetings of His Excellency Taye Asqe-Selassie, President of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. President Taye extends his heartfelt regrets for not being able to join you today due to prior commitments. I am privileged to deliver these remarks on his behalf on this momentous occasion. Allow me to begin with by extending to each of you and its all sons and daughters of Africa on the continent and in the diaspora our best wishes for joyous African Day celebrations. Excellencies, May 25th marks a pivotal moment in our collective history, the founding of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, 62 years ago. In 1963, 32 visionary heads of states and governments assembled in this historic city of Addis Ababa to give birth to Pan-African institution that would chart the course towards unity, freedom, and dignity for all African people. We pay tribute to our forebears whose courage, sacrifice, and unwavering conviction laid the foundations for the continent liberated from the yoke of colonialism and apartheid. Their legacy calls upon us to deepen our efforts to realize their vision of a united, peaceful, and prosperous Africa. Excellencies, Africa has made commendable progress over the decades. We have advanced peace and security, strengthened regional cooperation, and built institutions that are essential to social and economic transformation of our societies. The launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area stands as a landmark achievement in our collective journey towards economic integration. It represents not only a strategic platform for Africa, inter-African trade, but also a bold step towards inclusive growth and sustainable development. Yet, even as we celebrate our gains, we must acknowledge the considerable work that lies ahead. While political liberation has been largely achieved, the goal of full economic emancipation and integration remains a pressing and unfinished mission. We must redouble our efforts to break the barriers that hinder African unity, be they economic, infrastructural, or ideological. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's Africa Day celebration is under the theme of revisiting our history, shaping our future. It is a theme that deeply resonates with our shared aspirations and coincides with the 2025 African Union Theme of the Year, which focuses on reparatory justice for African people and the people of African descent. Reparatory justice is not only about addressing historical wrongs. It is about affirming the dignity of our people and creating a future grounded in equality and accountability. In this context, the solidarity between the continent and the African diaspora must be strengthened. Together, we must forge a unified voice to advocate for justice, recognition, and restitution on the global stage. Excellencies, in today's rapidly changing global landscape, unity among African nations is more vital than ever. We must harness the enduring Pan-African spirit of our founding fathers to confront emerging challenges, whether they are relating to climate change, conflict, youth unemployment, or technological disruptions. Africa's youth represent both our present strengths and future promise. Investing in education, digital infrastructure, science, and innovation, including in emerging fields such as artificial intelligence and big data, is not optional. It is an essential. These are the engines that will drive Africa's competitiveness in the global economy. Furthermore, we must continue to champion inclusive governance and democratic values, which are the bedrocks of resilience and sustainable development. Excellencies, as I conclude, I wish to reaffirm Ethiopia's steadfast commitment to our continental agenda. We remain fully dedicated to the realization of the aspirations of Agenda 2063, a blueprint for the prosperous, peaceful, and united Africa, driven by its own citizens and playing a dynamic role in the global arena. Let us honor the legacy of those who came before us by fulfilling our responsibility to those who will come after. I thank you very much. Have a good African Day to all of you.
A emancipação política do nosso continente é uma bússola para as gerações atuais face aos desafios contemporâneos, tais como a fragmentação política, os conflitos internos e outros flagelos que infelizmente assolam o nosso continente. É por isso que defendemos o respeito pelos princípios da solidariedade, da cooperação e do respeito mútuo, para que possamos continuar a construir uma África mais integrada, onde as fronteiras se tornem pontes e não barreiras. Reavivemos hoje e sempre o objetivo de todos os filhos de África que tombaram na luta pela realização do sonho de um futuro em que cada país africano disponha dos meios necessários para satisfazer as necessidades dos seus cidadãos, recorrendo principalmente aos seus próprios recursos e talentos. Honrar a visão destes heróis deve-se traduzir no investimento na educação, na boa governação, no reforço da integração econômica e no apoio às gerações mais jovens na sua aspiração a um futuro mais digno. Para que este facto impulsione e dinamize a nossa ação comum, devemos ter sempre presente que a África enfrenta uma série de desafios complexos que atrasam a sua plena renascença, não obstante o seu imenso potencial. Realçamos dentre estes a questão da paz e da segurança, pois registramos com preocupação que muitas regiões do continente continuam a viver situações de instabilidade devido ao terrorismo transnacional e ao extremismo violento, aos conflitos armados e às tensões intercomunitárias, entre outros fenómenos nefastos. Estamos particularmente preocupados com as pessoas que vivem em zonas de conflito, frequentemente forçadas a fugir das suas casas, tornando-se em deslocados internos ou refugiados em países vizinhos e a quem é negado a vida com um futuro seguro. A isto juntam-se as crises políticas e institucionais, muitas vezes caracterizadas por mudanças institucionais de governo e transições contestadas, um enfraquecimento do Estado de Direito e uma governação frágil. Reconhecemos que no plano socioeconômico, a África está a fazer tudo o que está ao seu alcance para enfrentar o desafio do desenvolvimento inclusivo num contexto mundial incerto. Apesar disso, sobressaem ainda vários desafios, de que realço o desemprego dos jovens, o acesso limitado à educação, à saúde e à habitação, a insuficiência de infraestruturas essenciais ao desenvolvimento, como estradas, caminhos de ferro, portos, aeroportos, fontes de produção e transportação de energia e, consequentemente, uma muito baixa taxa de industrialização dos países, a dependência de economias pouco diversificadas e os efeitos das mudanças climáticas como obstáculos à consecução de uma prosperidade sustentável no nosso continente. Acresce aos factos que referi a dívida crescente de certos países e a sua vulnerabilidade aos choques externos, as crises sanitárias ou as perturbações econômicas mundiais, que no seu conjunto acentuam as desigualdades e a fragilidade social. Temos hoje a noção clara de que estes desafios exigem respostas concertadas, instituições fortes e uma vontade política renovada, em consonância com as aspirações dos povos do nosso continente. Irmãs e irmãos, não obstante os desafios que temos pela frente, mantemos uma fé inabalável no futuro da África, que hoje, mais do que nunca, encarna um continente de esperança e otimismo, impulsionado por uma juventude dinâmica, por recursos naturais abundantes e por uma criatividade constantemente renovada. Todas as nossas esperanças numa África cada vez mais capaz de responder às necessidades dos seus povos, de resolver os problemas essenciais e criar condições de vida prósperas, provém do facto de possuirmos uma imensa população jovem, que compõe um capital humano único, capaz de inovar, de transformar as economias locais e ajudar o nosso continente e a humanidade a enfrentar os grandes desafios do século XXI. Diariamente, setores como as tecnologias digitais, as energias renováveis, a agricultura sustentável e a indústria cultural revelam o potencial da África para se reinventar, criar valor e contribuir ativamente para a economia mundial. Este olhar sobre um futuro próspero assenta também numa crescente consciência coletiva da necessidade de integração, de governação responsável e de desenvolvimento endógeno. É por isso que no presente ano optamos por pôr em marcha iniciativas no âmbito da Zona de Comércio Livre Continental Africana, a realização de uma grande conferência sobre infraestruturas como fator de desenvolvimento em África e outras que contribuam para a dinamização de políticas de desenvolvimento do nosso continente. A África não quer continuar a ser apenas um continente à espera de apoio, mas sim um ator estratégico em construção que oferece soluções para si próprio e para o mundo. Irmãs e irmãos africanos. Ao olharmos para o futuro nesta data que hoje celebramos, tenhamos presente o compromisso de servir o desígnio de um continente livre, próspero e unido. Celebrar a África significa renovar a nossa fé no seu potencial e capacidade de superar as adversidades, de afirmar a nossa responsabilidade coletiva e reforçar o nosso empenho numa cooperação sincera, respeitosa e ambiciosa. Que este dia seja mais do que uma comemoração, que constitua uma âncora para uma nova era de esperança e de construção comum, lembrando sempre o lema do ano da União Africana, Justiça para os africanos e afrodescendentes, através das reparações.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellency Mr. João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and current Chairman of the African Union, Mr. John Mahama, President of Ghana, the Minister of State of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, the overall Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Madam Representative of UNESCO, ladies and gentlemen. Africa Day is a moment of memory and a communion among Africans. But we always have a hope. Justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparation has been chosen as theme by our leaders. And during the period of slavery and colonization against tens of millions of Africans. Moreover, justice has not still been served and reparations are slow in coming. However, Africa does not wallow in the wounds and bitterness of the past. Africa continues to make sacrifices again and again in order to free itself from the throes of underdevelopment. Indeed, Africa has been building itself since then, slowly but surely. Rome was not built in a day, as the famous saying goes. Our continent, through the aspirations of its peoples, are reflected in the OAU Charter and then the Constitutive Act of the African Union is positioning itself with strength and determination on the international stage. With more than 2.5 billion inhabitants and millions of hectares of arable land, abundance of mineral resources, inexhaustible water resources, we have Africans what we want, that is the Africa we want, which is united, integrated, and peaceful and prosperous. The macroeconomic progress in many African countries mention an example. Some countries are still attaining double-digit growth rates of the pre-COVID-19 period. In fact, African women and youth are taking their destiny in their hands. They are organizing themselves, making demands, and acting to improve their daily life. Member states are investing in pragmatic policies.
Ignored. Its membership to the G20 is not only a well-deserved participation, but it is indeed a global recognition of the importance of Africa. There is no doubt that Africa's potential, mineral resources, arable lands, and industrial capacity are to be accounted for. It is our responsibility as Africans to protect these resources for the sake of present and future generations. It is our member countries' primary duty to develop a viable value chain on the continent through value addition transformation process. Our outstanding African free trade area is the market destined to absorb African goods. We all know that the international geopolitics is conducted at the expense of our continent. Influential powers do not give a proper attention to our continent's ambitions. It is up to us Africans to assert the values, reaffirm our convictions, and gain respect of all nations by our capacity to weigh on global arena. Pan-Africanism was built by our forefathers, not only on the basis of legitimate aspirations of our peoples, but more broadly on a number of strategic goals that are the reflection of critical thinking for the future of this continent and its peoples. Long live to Africa and African peoples. Have a good African Day. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme is just not timely, it is urgent. Justice through reparations is not about the past, it is about the future. It is about our dignity, it is about our sovereignty. UNESCO stands with the African Union to say that the time has come to match words with will. Reparative justice means rewriting the historical narrative, empowering our African youth, and reclaiming the ownership of African identity and memory. Justice and reparations cannot be achieved by one institution alone. That is why the relationship between the African Union and UNESCO is more vital today than ever. As we commemorate the Africa Day under the banner of reparative justice, UNESCO reaffirms its commitment to walk this path with the African Union, not as a partner of circumstance, but as a partner of principle. I am proud to announce in this spirit that before the end of the year, UNESCO will convene a high-level roundtable on the theme of reparations, memory, and sovereignty, African liberation movements, and the relevance of Pan-Africanism today. This will not be only a symbolic event, but it will be a space for policy, dialogue, for intergenerational learning, but also concrete proposals of action. Allow me to conclude with the words of Thomas Sankara, a visionary leader from Burkina Faso, whose message remains more relevant than ever. You cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. It takes courage to reinvent the future. Let us invent the future together. Thank you very much. Asante sana, shukran, gracias, muito obrigado. Happy Africa Day.
You're right.